and taking advantage of these opportunities, I also realized, man, I'm getting paid to travel the world. And around 2010, especially, I was always trying to find new countries to wrestle in. But I think it coincided with I had a girlfriend. It was the only girlfriend I ever had. And then we broke up. And so I loaded my schedule up. I was like, well, there's nothing. We already know what the negatives of this situation is, heartbreak and all that. Let's look for the positives here. Well, now I don't need to be in Montreal because there's nothing for me. I can just go everywhere. And so I really made a concerted effort to travel to as many new countries and work as many places as possible. So it did definitely get busy. I think WWE is a different schedule, especially now it's a little lighter, but a few years ago when you were on the road 5 days a week, and those 2.5 week tours in Europe, that was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You brought up Kevin Owens a while ago, and of course he's a big part of your life and obviously your career. You met him early on back in the day, and you guys would enjoy working together. Hey, look at there.
Look at those physiques. Those physiques scream WWE,
the youth
don't
of
they?
Montreal.
WWE, WrestleMania stars right there.
Boy, well, and just look at that picture, you think, are these guys ever going to make WWE? Look at that picture, probably not.
Right.
And now you guys are both big parts of the shows.
Yeah.
So what kinship did you strike up with Kevin that lasts to this day? You guys are thick as thieves.
There was something about him and something about me, just very like-minded. Because, we talked about the roadmap, and I think we had similar goals. I think he saw WWE as a more realistic possibility for himself than I ever did for myself. But I'm kind of a weird guy in that in some ways I'm kind of spacey. Like I have these long-term ideas, but I'm not like, okay, and then you have to do this and this and this. I'm kind of just enjoying the moment. I'm a bit more in the present, even though I know where I'd like to get.
Yeah.
I'm not so regimented to like, this is the only way to get there.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Completely.
But we did have a very similar mindset in the idea of like, we'd like to be the best in Quebec, and then we'd like to go to the States, and we'd like to, I think I was a bit more into the international stuff than he was, but the goal was WWE, and we saw it more as a goal than as a dream. And I think that's a bit different just in the phrasing of that.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the first things I remember having in common with him, other than the fact that I don't know, we both just really liked wrestling. I don't know what it was. We just hit it off really, really quick.
But along the way through the years, you're going to cross paths with Seth Rollins, who's wrestling under a different name back in the day, Bryan Danielson, Cesaro, there's going to be a lot more.
Yeah.
Who would have figured back in those years that you guys would be kind of like shape the next decade and a half or so of the sports entertainment industry?
Well, in a way, it makes no sense that we all ended up kind of taking over the business. But in another way, it makes total sense. Like we were really good, and we were I used to kind of look my nose down on scenes, like the scene, because I was like, oh,
yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with me. But now in my older age, I realize the importance of these scenes because creativity gets cultivated and bounced around and expanded upon because of one another. So it's one thing if Bryan Danielson was on his own in a vacuum. I don't know that he ever becomes Bryan Danielson, but because he's working with Christopher Daniels and Low Key and these guys, now something starts building and those guys start taking each other to the next step. Just like you had to keep up with Brian Pillman and it starts stacking on top of each other. Makes sense that these guys who are all pretty good already create something kind of special, and kind of makes sense that these would be the crop of guys that take the business in that direction.
Right.
But again, when you just look at the photo, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? But if you were there at the time, I think you would think you're watching the future.
Right. Man, you went to
just look at the photo, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? You know, but if you were there at the time, I think you would think you're watching the future.
Right. Man, you went to basically every federation that there was. You were either their champion or
If you were there at the time, I think you would think you're watching the future.
right. Man, you went to basically every federation that there was. You were either their champion or a world tag team champion. And then finally, you end up in WWE.
Yeah.
How did you end up in WWE?
So, man, it's actually kind of crazy because, again, it was still at the time, 2011, when I'm starting to think, okay, I think I'm going to try to make a real run for this.
A concerted
effort
towards WWE?
Yes.
Okay.
2011. So the first time I get on the radar, even the word WWE is even mentioned to me, is it's 2006. So I'm about 5 years in, 2006. Jamie Noble calls me, and I had only met him a couple times in PWG or whatever in California.
Yep.
And I get this phone call, hey, Generico, and he's talking and he's got that West Virginia accent, so I don't understand everything. And I'm in my friend Mike Murdukuta's basement, and I don't really understand everything that's going on. And he's like, anyway, send me a DVD and I'll try to, I'll pass it along. And for some reason, I have in my head that he's talking about, because I knew him on the Indies. So I thought he was trying to get me booked for some indie in Texas. And then I'm thinking, why does he want me to put a DVD together? And then all of a sudden, for some reason, I have in my head that he's talking about, because I knew him on the Indies. So I thought he was trying to get me booked for some indie in Texas. And then I'm thinking, why does he want me to put a DVD together? And then all of a sudden it dawns on me, I go, wait, are he's talking about, because I knew him on the Indies. So I thought he was trying to get me booked for some indie in Texas. And then I'm thinking, why does he want me to put a DVD together? And then all of a sudden it dawns on me, I go, wait, are you talking about WWE? He's like, yeah, man, the big time. That's what I'm talking about. I'm saying, put a DVD together for me. They're thinking about starting a cruiserweight show. I thought you'd be perfect. You know, ole. My kid's seen those videos on YouTube. Ole, that's perfect. Put that on. Send it to me. No promises, but whatever. So that was the first time I was like, oh my God, is this even this could actually happen? And he said, don't get your hopes up. And I didn't.
Yeah.
But even for the word WWE to come across my state was kind of mind blowing. So around 2010, 2011, again, I'm hearing that, hilariously enough, I'm still hearing the same rumor of a cruiserweight show.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing my name's been kicked around, and I have a Ring of Honor contract that's about to come to an end. And they want to re-sign me, and I pull over the head booker at the time, was this guy Delirious. And I go, look, man, here's the thing. I want to keep working here, but I don't want to sign a contract because I want to, try to make a concerted effort to try to get there. He's like, okay, fine. And within 6 months, I do one match at Ring of Honor against Kevin, a last man standing match, and a guy named Canyon Seaman who becomes the scout. It's his first weekend on the job. And he goes to Ring of Honor, and for whatever reason, I'm the guy that jumps out at him. So I'm his first wrestling hire. And he reaches out and he says, would you like to do a tryout at FCW? I go, let me think about it.
Hello, McFly.
Right. It was kind of crazy that it lined up that way. That I was like, wait, it just felt like this is about the time. I was about 9 years in at that time, 10 years in, and it just felt like, okay, I'm kind of on that. I think I can make it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you get down to the training camp, I mean, what's the transition for you? Because you're a 10-year pro, you traveled all over the world, you held multiple championships, you're a hell of a hand, a great mechanic. What's it like down there at the camp?
So
you're pretty damn good.
Yeah, I was pretty driven, and so the only other thing I had done for WWE at that time is in 2010 I did extra work once. And I remember on the drive, because the first day was in Toronto, 6 hours from Montreal, second day was in Ottawa. On the drive to Toronto, halfway through, I started having such a crisis of self-confidence that I was like, what are you doing? You don't belong here. Look at you. You're tiny. You're going to go in there. The Undertaker's there. Randy Orton's there. Who the hell are you? You're nobody. And I'm driving, and I pull over at a Tim Hortons. I'm like, and I start G'ing myself back up. Yeah. I'm like, no, you worked with Paul London. He's worked at WWE. He thinks you're great. You worked with Jushin Liger. He thought you were great. You're great. And I'm talking myself up. Nothing comes up from that, but that was kind of the first time I was even like, oh, this is this world, right? And then I fast forward about a year or two, and I actually end up doing this tryout camp. I go in there, my mindset's totally different. I am going to, because I'm picturing like it's all athletes.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm going to show these MFers a thing or two. Like, you could be as big as you want, but I am amazing at this. Yeah. And I'm going to show everybody. I'm going to show all these guys up. Because for all I know, they're hiring 2 or 3 guys. I'm like, I know I'm going to be one of them. I just had it in my head. They ended up signing like 12 guys. And I was one of them. But the mindset was totally different from where it had been just a year or two ago. It's like, I'm going to crush this.
As you were talking, trying to spin yourself, get your confidence back.
Yeah.
I have right here. I mean, your resume, through all the federations that you work with, you just named a few names, but there's really about 15 or 20 of guys that you've worked several programs with that were the best of the best.
Yeah, but they still weren't in WWE.
No, they weren't.
Scope yet.
Yeah, some of them never would be. But when I look at the list of names that you've worked with and their bodies of work, I'm just talking about output, as far as knowing what's up.
So look, I had a certain amount of confidence, but there's this thing that happens on the independents. And maybe it was like this in developmental once upon a time. I don't know, because developmental kind of changed around me when I got there, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But on the indies, you felt like you were on an island. Yeah. And WWE was the big show, but you don't have any idea they've ever heard of you. They don't know nothing about you. And